I'd like to call the December 18, 2023 meeting of the City Council for the City of Lake City to order. If everyone will stand for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for the invocation to be given by Vice Mayor Councilmember Todd Sampson. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Father, we pray that you be with us during this meeting, that we make the right decisions. We pray, Lord, you'll be with the first responders and with the family of the young lady, Raya. We pray that you'll be with our community for peace. We pray that you'll be with each person here, that we can do our part. In Jesus' name, amen.
Mr. Jernigan?
Present.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Young? Here. Mr. Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Kennon?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal, pertinent, or kind remarks or becoming vultures when addressing the city council. Yelling, making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There is only one approved manner of addressing the council, and that is to be recognized as speaking the podium. As a reminder, persons are not to openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or firearm while the governing body is meeting. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, may I speak if you don't mind?
sure.
Again, Mayor, I know I asked you this at the last meeting. I just want to know what happens to a person that comes to this podium or diocese and disrespect or bring in a weapon, yelled, whatever kind of comments that is boisterous. What happens to those individuals?
It depends on severity and they can be removed,
Depends on the severity and they can be removed.
right?
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, we have minutes from December 4th.
Motion to approve the minutes from December 4th.
Second.
Second to approve the minutes from December 4th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is approval of the agenda, and I've been requested to move item 18 up between items 3 and 4. And if there's no objection to that, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended, as well as adding an emergency item on unapproved raises from the budget, and we could add that at the end or whatever, under other items would be fine.
Okay, so maybe after 21, say,
20 will be fine, you can just put it right after that.
okay. All right.
We need a second.
Okay, we're to public comments.
Mr. Mayor, we need a second.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public comments, Mr. Warren.
Mr. Mayor, Council Sylvester Warren, 930 Northeast Joe Coney. Mr. Mayor, two things very quickly, if you don't mind. One, what's the emergency item? What's the emergency? I see the council just voted on the emergency item. What's the emergency?
That's what he's gonna bring up at that time. I don't know.
So we don't voted on something that's the emergency and we don't,
We don't allow
the bill
him.
don't fire?
I'm gonna allow him to speak. If it's appropriate, we'll vote on it.
And what's up with this speech about what happens to a person? I mean, isn't it written what happens to a person if they become boisterous? Or isn't that your responsibility to be concerned about, Mayor?
Yes, sir, and we're gonna have a workshop on it.
Yeah, what do you mean we're gonna have a workshop on it? What seems to be the problem with it seems, Mayor, hold on, let me run my minutes now. All right, because my problem now, if y'all wanna get personal, we get personal. Now, I done tried to work with y'all and told y'all that I retired as an activist and trying to be light on the situation, but don't egg me on. Do not egg me on. Nobody up here, I am not to be played with in no shape, form, or fashion, period. And just like I told a particular council member, when I say that you cannot come back to the hood, I meant what I said to you. So if you're talking about me, be a man and deal with me as a man. But 10, District 10, where you were born and raised when your mama lived at, there you cannot come.
Mayor.
There you
I'd like to
cannot,
have
there,
this,
there you
motion to
cannot
have him
come.
removed.
Second.
There you cannot move.
Mr. Mayor, there's a motion and a second.
It can't-
Motion and a second. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
What are we voting?
Ms. Young?
To remove Mr. Warner.
Ms. Young?
Is this what we're,
Voting on, the motion?
Yep.
yes,
Mayor Whit?
Yeah. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Hold on, you can't make no motion on it.
Mr. Mayor, it passed.
He will get legal.
Can you enforce it?
Okay, there's been a motion and it's been
You can't
voted on.
What you mean, man? I made public speaking, that interrupt me.
That was the motion and it was passed.
Ma'am, what did you?
I think everybody's in question, just give
You
it.
gonna take some action on something that was not on the agenda. If it was on the agenda, I was trying to speak to it, so now you may wanna talk to your attorney, that seemed kinda out of whack. If y'all wanna vote to have Mr. Warren removed, that's up to you all. But you voting on something, I signed for public comments. I expect my public comments to take place before anything else take place except for that on the agenda. That's why you move public comments up. If I'd known y'all would be voting on something to remove a person from this audience, then I'd have time to speak to that. Because I did not hear anything here tonight that justified Mr. Warren being removed from this meeting.
That was the motion.
But I'm telling you, man, you shouldn't entertain no motion. I didn't get a chance to speak to that. But all right, do what you wanna do.
Okay. Mr. Cannon?
The council has decided by its vote that Mr. Warren's conduct would fall within the boisterous or becoming personal or slanderous remarks. And so I believe the council can proceed.
What voices and standards is marked that I
Mr.
made?
Mayor, we've already voted to have him removed.
Mr. Warren, it's already been voted on.
Man, you got the final decision. I mean, this is the road, this is the route y'all gonna go.
It's not my decision, it's a vote by the council.
Y'all voted by the council to have me removed from the
Yes, sir.
council meeting. Okay, I'll leave, but guess what? Fuck each and every one of you, I'm gonna make sure I fuck each and every one of you over. You think you're gonna vote against me and think that y'all gonna survive?
Mr.
You sit your ass down, you don't
Okay.
be touching me.
Okay,
I know my way out this motherfucker. What? You got about what? Oh, okay.
All right, Eddie Brown,
By the way, there's a federal prison cell for each one of y'all. You're not, I want you to do this. I don't have to.
Good evening. This is my first time speaking, so I say my name and then my address. Is that correct?
She doesn't have to say her address.
Okay.
that's fine.
My name is Trishana Graham, and I'm here to address the council as well as show a positive reinforcement for our current interim assistant manager, Mr. D. Johnson. On Friday, I was in a particular situation with my business downtown, and unfortunately, I tried to contact each and every one of you guys, and no one was able to answer the phone call. Except for Mr. Sampson, I did not contact you. As I tried to contact them, I did get in touch with Mr. Witt's office, and your answer, gentleman, Mr. Trevor, he's amazing. And he then forwarded me over to Ms. Audrey Sykes. Ms. Sykes then got me in contact with Mr. D. Johnson. He was in a meeting at the time. At the time, unfortunately, I didn't have proper documentations, and the Lake City Police Department, along with court enforcement, had requested me to stop business as of such. Mr. D. Johnson allowed me to have a one-on-one meeting with him as well as Ms. Sykes, and he gave me so much information, so much encouragement, as well as was able to communicate with the chief of police, as well as able to communicate with Lake City Police Department, and within 2 hours, I was back in business. I'm not aware of how long it takes to find a candidate for Columbia County for city manager, but you have one already. And I feel like if you put the support behind him, instead of putting the time and the effort to find someone new, then you will have someone that will make this city as remarkable as it should be. We don't have to be negative, we don't have to fight, we don't have to go back and forth. But you have someone who left one meeting and went to a distressed, normal person that pays their taxes on time and helped them to achieve goals beyond their imagination. I wasn't gonna come today, but I felt an inkling in my heart for you guys just to know the type of gentleman that you have already on your staff. He was intelligent, he was informative, he made sure that his staff respected him. Higher ups came to the rescue and got it all situated within a matter of hours. It was a pleasure to meet you, and I have met you further. I definitely would vote for you if that's something I can do. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm here to support you. And I wish you guys would just take those 18 months and give him an opportunity, because I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Betty Goggins.
Ms. Goggins,
Hi, yes. Mayor, and to each of you, I concur with what the young lady had just said. That's the reason why I am here. My name is Betty Goggins. I reside at 721 Southeast Camp Street. And the reason why I'm attending tonight specifically is to, actually, the young lady said it all. Where is she? Thank you, thank you. And I want to thank Councilwoman Young for standing up and really letting us know that we have someone. I already know we have someone that is doing a remarkable job. Mr. Johnson, I commend you. I have been in some of the meetings at the Gwen Lake project, what you're doing with the roads. I'm just really pleased already with the progress that I see. And I just hope that this council will reconsider and let him stay on. And I mean, at least give him 18 months. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bowden,
Mr. Mayor, quickly as we move now toward the end of the year and close to Christmas, and I do want to thank the city council for moving forward with the designation of the road. But I would be remiss, Mayor, if I didn't call it to our attention, as you already noticed, that there are many people in our community that this trip is not going to be so jolly for them. Mariah family is one of them, the Jake family also. And the young man who got killed on the other end, Nick, whatever his last name was, 19-year-old, his family not going to be that happy. And then the other young man who got killed over there a year ago this month. That's 3 murders in that area within the past year. And I bring it up, Mal, just to make the point so you as city leaders will understand. 3 murders in Lake City on that side of town is comparable to 50 murders in Jacksonville. The impact of it. You know, this is a small community, only 12,000 people in this community. 4,000 black folks, so you can imagine with 3 murders, how many families that touched. Not only the person that's deceased, but also the person that's been accused of that. So I'm encouraged that you all dedicated the street, but I also encouraged that you're going to be having a workshop talking about the funds that have been set aside and understanding that most of these homicides are taking place within the confines of the city limits. Yes, we are in Columbia County. Yes, the sheriff department should be doing something. But the bottom line is that it's inside the city limits. And the urban community need to be dealt with differently. So I would hope that that $200,000 you start working on spending it, getting it in the community where it can do some good. The next year you be budgeted for another amount. Now, I want to speak to what just happened to Mr. Warren. I understand that what the corner means. I understand there shouldn't be no name calling. But I also think there should be a policy in place that a person can't, and all due respect to Mr. Junick or anybody, but the person up to this podium is talking, unless you as the person that's chairing the meeting determine that it's boisterous out of line, that means that any city councilman or woman, if I say something that's offensive to them, they don't like it. Mr. Bowden make a motion that Mr. Bowden be removed, and somebody else that may have some bone to pick with me second the motion. Then all of a sudden, the man, I've been removed from the meeting. That's not how this should work. It shouldn't be just on a motion. Because what somebody thinks is boisterous and disrespectful may not be boisterous and disrespectful for the person who's saying and those in the audience. Some people talk loud in their voice. That don't mean they yelling, that's how they talk. Now, I'm not saying that Mr. Warren should have said anything related to him. I'm not justifying that. But what I am saying is that a person who make the motion can't make the motion because he or she feel like they being attacked. And then the other member just second, then all of a sudden, where's the due process? This is a city council meeting. It's not on the agenda. You know, so the workshop is to come up with a platform because, you know, at what point in time you're going to decide, well, you make a motion, well, that's not good enough, but that's too bad. I think you did a disservice today by, having Mr. Warren removed, and I personally resent it, absolutely resent it.
Well, on the agenda is, for us to discuss workshops, and I want that one on the first. I want that to be the first workshop, because it is an issue.
Yeah, man, I think you don't have to told me, I'm not saying that, but I do think that, you can't, city council can operate that, I'm mad with you say something about me, okay, you got all to make a motion, they be removed from the meeting. No, that, somebody will end up going to jail behind that.
Mr. Mayor, may I say something?
Sure.
Mr. Bowden, you mind if I say something to you?
No.
I got a couple questions for you. So your definition of boisterous or yelling or being disrespectful is different than mine. Is that what you're telling me?
It could be, depends on what's being said. I'm not saying it's any different than yours, but what I'm saying though is that a person having a conversation, if they don't call a person a name, if you don't use them profanity, if I say, for example, Mr. Mayor, that was the dumbest vote you ever did, that was stupid, that vote. Now, if I said, Mr. Mayor, you're a stupid such and such, that's attacking him. But I should be able to criticize your actions, individually and collectively, without you taking it personal. If I say that Mr. Johnny, last meeting you voted, that was the dumbest vote I ever seen in my life. Now, if I come up and say, Mr. Johnny, you're the dumbest person I ever seen in my life, that's a whole different story.
Yes, I totally get it. So talking about a person's mother, brother, cousin, you don't feel in your mind that it's being disrespectful.
Well, it depends on how it's being said.
You heard it. I mean, you know how to say
I
it.
heard what he just said.
Yes.
He didn't say anything in a negative way, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. Okay.
About Mother Jernigan.
Yes, sir.
I know.
Yeah, exactly right. So you know Mother Jernigan, and when somebody says something about somebody that's not here, that's dead, she or he cannot defend themselves, you don't think that that's being disrespectful to that individual?
Not to the point that he should be removed from the meeting.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have to say.
I mean, not to be moved to the meeting because,
Okay.
you know, somebody get up here and say something else. I'm just saying, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to take up more time. There's got to be a process, and it can't be the person who feel like they're being attacked make the motion. And then somebody second and you get 3 votes and the person going from the meeting. It got to be more to it than that. It should be a warning. You should say, oh, Mr. Warren, Mr. Bowden, you've been warned. I do it again, if people from the meeting. But, you know, but to say, I'm not going to allow you to say anything that I disagree with, then we need to have some guidelines, that's all I'm saying. Otherwise, it's going to be emotionally driven, that could be the problem.
While we're on this, I do have a question. I was reluctant because Mr. Jernigan was the one who made the motion. And I was reluctant because my question is, should he have been the one to make the motion?
I think he's entitled as anybody, or more entitled if he feels offended.
I don't want
If he
to.
don't get a
Mr. Mayor.
second and he don't get any votes, then apparently we disagree with him.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
So when you read that out, boisterous is one avenue, but before that, it says personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks. Or boisterous, so you can make an impertinent or personal statement at a normal tone, and it needs to be handled in. Now, I do agree that the chair could handle it immediately.
Right.
You have the ability to do it, and we've all talked to the attorney. I know I have, I'm sure y'all have, about him hopefully reaching out to you to say, hey, stop this, because we're tired of the personal attacks, we're just tired of it, and it's not right. And what went on here, what was said about Mr. Jernigan's family members, no, not acceptable.
And I know this is fresh because we just came out of training. And this was one of the items that was discussed. So when the attorney, I kind of expected him to elaborate more than to just read it verbatim. Kind of explain to us what happened and what I expected a little more.
Well, that's why we're gonna have the workshop on it, and like I say, I'd like that to be our first one. And that way he can explain what we should, and us as a council can decide how we're gonna handle.
And see, that concerns me as well, because here we are again, the adults out of line, the adults out of order. And we had the Mariah Fund first. So here again, the children get pushed to the side, pushed away because the adults, the grown folk, are out of order. And it's just not right. It's not right.
The next item is approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion as to the consent agenda?
So move, Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, no presentation, no old business. This is where we wanted to bring up item 18, which is discussion possible action of Dave Johnson to serve as interim city manager for 18 months. And this is Lady Young's, item.
Yes, at the last meeting, and I did say that I would like to see this on the next agenda. We are in a space where we have Mr. D. Johnson, interim city manager. And first thing I want to point out is, this is how we know we have the right man in this seat. There has been many achievements accomplished in the short length of time that he has been fulfilling this seat. I can have him name them. And I don't know if you all has thought about this, but you've had time to consider from the last meeting until now, and I hope you've actually put a lot of thought in it and thought seriously about who we have. We know who we have. We know Mr. Johnson. We know what he can do because we see what he's doing. All of these accomplishments in a short length of time. If we allow someone else in this seat, we don't know who we're getting. If we allow someone else in this seat, the city is moving. We're moving. We could easily become stagnated. We don't have time for that, people. And we need to allow Mr. Johnson, we need to allow him more time. Now, and I know I said 18 months. If I can't put 18 months on it, I won't put 18 months on it. Let him fill his position. This interim city manager. If it's working, leave it alone. Education, I understand, is the issue here. He doesn't have the required education. But while he's working, as a matter of fact, and he can speak for himself, while he's working on that education now and doesn't need a whole lot of time before it's completed. And I really believe we owe him that. I really believe that. We owe him that. And I really believe, and I like the young lady said at this podium, I don't know who she is, but I thank God for her. And nothing happens by coincidence. All that she said is true. I've watched him, I've called him countless number of times. Nothing that I've asked, I can't speak for other council persons, but nothing that I've asked that he has not fulfilled. Full of energy. He's not hesitant about doing anything. He gets right on it, and it gets done. And I would like for this council to not only consider, I want us to vote to keep him here as long as we can. If I can't put a time on it, I want to say 18 months. Attorney, you anything on that?
Yes, ma'am. Sort of outlining the process. Section 403 of the Code of Ordinances deals with an acting city manager that contemplates the appointment of an interim or acting city manager in the event of a vacancy. relative to the existing city manager having a temporary absence or disability. Obviously, we don't have that here because we don't have a city manager that's gonna be absent or disabled for a temporary period of time. So the code doesn't speak to the length of time for an interim city manager. The code requires that the city move in a reasonable manner to fill the position that is vacant. And that's going back to discussion of section 401 of the Code of Ordinances. And that deals with who may be qualified as a city manager. And those requirements are essentially twofold. One is a bachelor's degree from an accredited four-year college or university, which you alluded to, and have either 10 years of progressively responsible experience in municipal or corporate management in a senior management position, or any equivalent combination of training and experience. And so ultimately, the decision as to whether or not to hire someone as a city manager, they would obviously have to meet those criteria. So where you are now is Mr. Johnson is the council-appointed interim city manager and will presumably hold that spot until the council decides otherwise. If you establish a definitive time period, you get into the issue of establishing a contract that very well could be violative of the code because as we sit here now, he doesn't meet the bachelor's requirement. The other requirement would obviously be left to some investigation and then the consent of the council. So I guess not a recommendation, but a caution that if you do a definitive term, you could run into an allegation that the code is being violated because you put someone in a position for a set amount of time who doesn't hold those qualifications that are necessary for that position. So in my opinion, as it sits now, he is the interim city manager until the council decides otherwise. And then the council obviously has to decide how they wish to proceed with filling that position. And so those are kind of two separate issues. I think Mr. Dial was here for 14 months as the interim? Not sure of that exact time frame, but again, there's nothing in the code that designates a set period of time for the interim. The code anticipates the council moving forward in a reasonable manner. That is a manner the council finds to be reasonable in filling that particular position.
So with that being said, I make a motion that Mr. D. Johnson remains in the interim city manager position without a definitive time, or he'll sit in this position until we decide differently. So we'll do away with the HR process, the hiring process now.
Well, you're getting separate motions, I think, intertwined.
Okay, well, we'll get to that when we get to that. Well, that's why this is what we first.
May I ask a question?
So
No, ma'am, not right now. Once we get a motion and a second, then I'll ask for public comment.
What should my wording be?
you may want to consider a motion, if you think you need one, a motion that says that Mr. Johnson will remain the interim city manager until a city manager is otherwise appointed and retained and hired by the city council. And then that process dictates the period of time.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
so didn't we already do that when we appointed him interim?
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So he's already
Yeah, he
appointed
is the
exactly
interim
those
manager
parameters.
until this council, by a majority vote, would be to remove him. So he's got that position until the council decides otherwise.
But if we stop the search, then we are doing exactly what you're saying of violating
You
the
could be
charter.
violating, there could be a claim you're violating the charter because you're not moving to fill the position with someone that has the qualifications. But again, that process, you don't know how long that process is gonna take.
Right,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
so another concern I have is about the length of time is Mr. Johnson's not protected by a contract, nor can he be. So we're kind of leaving him out to dry in that situation as well, because if we did try to define it by a set date, And without giving him a contract where he knows exactly what he can and can't do or what the scope is, I think it's setting a poor precedent for him. And I know in the past, we never had contracts with interim managers. I don't know that we can, because then you changed, you moved on the charter to be in that 401 position. And I don't think, it's a disservice as well to Mr. Johnson. I mean, multiple conversations we've had, and I think even at a meeting, he's mentioned he's not qualified by 401 at this time. So if that's the case, I mean, we've already appointed him interim for the set period until someone's hired. And again, it could take a year, it could take 2 years, who knows? Last time we went through multiple attempts and interviews to try and hire someone, and I think we had 3 interim managers at least, and maybe even another one. I can't, it's been more than a year ago, but I think he's already appointed exactly in how the motion sounds. He's already appointed.
Right, I think it would be redundant to do another motion unless we're just doing a, what do you call it, vote of confidence kind of thing.
Okay, so being that you mentioned, Mr. Paul Dow, and he was interim for 14 months, was he on the contract?
No.
And there was nothing said about whether we hired somebody the next week or whatever. We were still in the process of doing the search. I think Dee's done a great job. I'm a big fan of Dee's. I'm admiring. And the last thing I want to do is put him in a bad position that could actually hurt his career. And I think he should be, if he's been appointed interim, let him do his job. And as Mr. Sampson said, they ain't to tell how long it's gonna take us to do this search. We didn't do real good before, and I don't expect us to move too fast now, but, I think we need to leave well enough alone.
I'd like to make a comment about that too. The young lady mentioned Dee's responsiveness. I found him to be very responsive. And I think that's an important thing. I think he's doing fine in that position as far as being responsive to at least whatever I've asked him. And I think that he's doing a fine job. And I think long-term, he's a valuable employee to the city. And we need to move forward with the idea, hopefully whoever comes in can, whatever direction we go, he can be developed, because long-term, I see him leading the city. That's my opinion, but.
Mr. Mayor, if I could
Sure.
make a comment as well. Let's look at this thing, let's use the term realistic and realistic. Realistically, of course, he does not have the qualifications to become a city manager. But realistically, he has the credentials to be exactly where he is. And not only that, when you talk to all the department heads and give their opinion, and you call this young man day in and day out for this reason or that reason, he's definitely the right choice for interim city manager, just like he is. And we'll continue to do the search. And again, we never know how long it may take. We have a couple of people that's interested in that position. And D, we do not want to hurt him at all, because if you go by the charter, we got problems. But if you don't, just realistically, just keep him right where he is until we find that particular person, because he is doing a fantastic job. And I am a fan of his as well, and all of these department heads. I'm a fan of theirs as well, because they're the ones that's going to make D shine the way he shines. Because when he speaks, I don't know of one of them that haven't bought in to what he's trying to accomplish for this city, and he's moving forward with that. So I just want to put my 2 cents in there. It may not mean anything to anybody, but it means a lot to me to know that realistically, we got a great guy in a great position that came a long ways, and I do not want to harm that at all. Just want to make sure I put my 2 cents in there.
Mr. Mayor, I want to add to that. I've had several conversations with Mr. Johnson, and everybody that sits on this dais agrees that he's doing a fantastic job. I don't think it's no one up here that has more confidence in Dee's job that he's doing. But to do this right, we're not gonna just hire nobody tomorrow. Let this run its course. D is doing his job. This is just Jake's opinion now. Let D do his job the way he's doing it, and who knows how long this is gonna take. But again, I think that this need to run its course. Not just say, well, D, you're gonna be our next city manager. Let D get his credentials. And if push comes to shove, once he get his credentials, I'm one of his supporters. If I'm in this seat, I'm one of his supporters. But I don't wanna see D in that position and get, how can I say this? Set up for failure. Again, I'm going back to an individual that was in that position, didn't have half the education D had. This joker just had a high school diploma. But it wasn't this council that put him there. But when it come out, he resigned because he didn't have what he needed to have to be in that position. I don't want to see that happen to D. And if D stays there, he's gonna be there legally and the right way. Nobody up here thinks that D's not doing a good job. Like Mr. Jones said, all the department heads like you. All of them. But that doesn't get him what he needs to be, what he needs to be in that position. That's all I have.
Okay.
The question I wanted to ask was, does it matter what degree that the person has?
Yes,
Okay, what is the degree that
a
person?
4-year degree.
What is it?
A bachelor's degree.
Yeah, bachelor's degree in what field?
And well, when this came up for our charter review years ago,
Mr. Mayor, I
After
think
this
you might be on, following the decorum policy we have, you might be on safer ground to have a motion before you entertain the public discussion.
Well, that's what I was trying to
But then
get to.
that way we're consistent with everybody.
Right. Is there a motion that Ms. Young, did you want to make?
I made the motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Now, Ms. Goggins, if you'll come up to the podium.
Okay, thank you.
What is the motion?
I just hope that I know he's gonna be afraid.
Okay, let me finish, what I was saying, is back when they had, at least 10 years, it was after the incident that, Jake was talking about, because our charter used to say we could hire anybody, and there wasn't one thing in there about qualifications at all. They didn't have to have a first grade education.
I just wanted to know
But-
what field.
Okay, I'm not answering what you're saying. Several people wanted it to be in public administration, and I argued against it because somebody would have to know they wanted to be a city manager way before they got to that time, so we just put a 4-year degree. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say on that?
No, I just asked what was the field? Do they have to have it in education? Does it have to be biology? What is the?
It just says 4-year bachelor's degree.
Just
Yeah. Mr. Bowden. Okay, audience, we need to,
Mr. Mayor, I think what you're trying to accomplish here, the county's trying to accomplish is, it's just a bad situation. The code, or the council, whatever it is, says that the city manager must have a 4-year degree or 10 years of experience. The
no,
bottom
it says
line-
and,
Huh?
it says and.
And, not either,
The end.
it's and,
Yeah,
well, Mr. Dow was in a position without being qualified then. He can have a 4-year degree, I don't think.
Keep on talking.
yeah. I thought he did.
He did it, 4-year degree? Okay, anyway, I'm gonna talk about Mr. Dow. Point I wanna make, Mr. Mayor, is that I think that a city manager position should require, or at least a 4-year degree, and should require some experience. That's what I think. That's my personal view. Can a person do the job without that? Yes, they can, but you can't have it both ways. If your law says you got to have it, you got to have it. Now, if you want to keep Mr. Johnson interim for a period of time, you know, that's your call. But I think that a city to move forward need to have some sense of direction with some certainty. Nothing to do with Mr. Johnson. But I think that when you change the rules to fit a person, it may make you happy on that moment. But later down the road, that same rule come back to haunt you. So it's in place for a purpose. Now, you can't put a time limit on it. You can't say you're gonna give him an insurance for 18 months. I was thinking that you could do 18 months with the caveat that he obtained that 4-year degree, so he would meet the qualifications. But then, this is the city attorney, that may be a problem, you put that into a contract.
Right.
But it just seems to me that, you call between the rock and the hard place, you know, and, if I was there, I'd just vote to have an interim and do the process. If you don't do the process and vote, it just make an interim, then you say yourself, well, it's perfect. And I can't see you making him the interim and start the process when you're saying that you can do it. But I'm not sure that's what you want to do. Man, I haven't got a plan. But the rule is the rule. The rule says the person must have the degree. And if you don't think that should be the case, then you need to rewrite the rule.
Right.
That's what you need to do. I don't think you make the rules fit the person. The person has to fit the rule. And if they don't fit the rule, then you make it the interim. You satisfied being the interim, just keep the interim. You ain't got to fill the position. The HR can just keep doing what they're doing still. But you can't. Let's don't play no game with the public. The idea here is that you want to keep Mr. Johnson. And the only way you can do it is make him there. And just forget about everything else. Otherwise, you got to lose the process.
Right. Thank you.
Mr. Lawson, do you still want to speak?
My name is Ben Lawson. I wrote this down so I wouldn't be confused. First, I'm going to speak to the Sylvester Warren. I think if you add the verbiage of "you cannot threaten" to your list, that will help you. I feel like after that verbiage is added, that the mayor must vigorously enforce the rules so that the rest of the council is not rendered helpless. That's one subject. The next is D. Johnson. What was the original thought process that specified what the job requirements are for a city manager when the charter was written? What do we want the job requirements to be now? Do we want the best for the city? Or are we trying to help our friends and family by giving them high-paying jobs at the city? Or is this about the color of his skin? The question has been asked, why can we not give this man 18 months? However, if we do not begin searching now for a city manager that matches the qualifications listed in the charter, we still may not have a city manager that meets the qualifications in 18 months. Or are we supposed to keep him as interim and not begin the search until after 18 months? And then it may be even longer. As soon as any city employee has the qualifications of a city manager, they will also be eligible the next time the city is looking for a city manager. We must make a sound business decision that is not biased by race or friendship. I am sure that he is qualified to act as interim, but we must be searching now for someone that matches the charter requirements or change the charter requirements for eternity. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to comment, if I may. First of all, I described this man. Now y'all looking at him, y'all know what color he is, but not one time did I say he was black. Not one time. All these great achievements Not because he's black, but because he's capable, because he has the ability, because he's willing. Not one time did anything reflect him being black, but you see that he's black. The next thing, let me finish. The next thing is, I met D. Johnson when I became council person. I didn't know him before now. So he showed me who he is. I just want to put that out there. I'm not a black or white person. And I do take that. I'm offended by that.
May I make
Hey,
a
Mayor,
comment?
may I comment to that as well?
Very briefly.
Mayor, let me go first. I'd like to thank you for letting me know I'm black. Thank you. Thank you.
I just don't know why they had
Can I
to come up.
respond?
Okay, just briefly.
Briefly. Okay, I'm responding because there was a post made on Facebook to bring out all the people because the city was trying to put down a black person. And I don't think that makes any sense. I don't think anyone cares what color anybody is. I think it should be only about, like she says, you know, who can do what. It shouldn't make any difference what color you are. And so I don't think anybody should rally together for any color over something else. It should simply be about qualifications. I hire my employees based on qualifications, nothing else. Not because they're my friends or my brother's relatives, nothing. Simply qualifications.
Okay,
That's
thank
it.
you. I'd like clarification on the exact motion. The motion is, yes,
What I have written down is a motion for Mr. D. Johnson to remain as interim city manager in the interim city manager position without a definitive time limit until the council decides otherwise. Was that your motion, Mrs. Jones? And then Mr. Jernigan seconded the motion.
okay,
And now we have public comment.
that's all that. Okay, any other comments of council?
Mr. Mayor, so we already have this situation, so we're voting on something we already have.
Yeah,
So I don't know what the purpose of it is, but it's a situation we're in
I can
already.
withdraw the motion.
I think it was good for conversation though.
it was good for conversation, but I want Dee to remain the city manager, but I'm opposed to the motion because I think it's redundant because he's already there.
Recap my second too.
Ms. Sherman, did you remove your? Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
We did that for comments.
Right, okay.
No, I didn't do it for comment.
I did.
Right, I know you did.
Yes. Okay, so we removed that. So now we're gonna move to item 4, resolution. City Council Resolution 2023-142. Mr. McKenna, will you read that back out?
City Council Resolution number 2023-142, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of an amended agreement with Flock Group, Inc. for the purchase and use of Flock safety software and hardware at an annual price not to exceed $93,600, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion on City Council Resolution 2023-142?
So Mayor, I make that motion of 2023-142.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion?
Ms. Fox, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Mayor Witt?
Yes. Item 5 is City Council Resolution 2023-143. Mr. Ken, would you read that one, please?
City Council Resolution number 2023-143, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a continuing contract with Biotech Consulting LLC, providing for engineering services, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion on City Council Resolution 2023-143?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve resolution 2023-143.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Fox, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Item 6 is City Council Resolution 2023-144. Ken, would you read that one?
City Council Resolution number 2023-144, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a continuing contract with Chin Moore and Associates, Inc., providing for engineering services, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion as City Council Resolution 2023-144?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-144.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Item 7, City Council Resolution 2023-145. Mr. Gainer, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-145, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a continuing contract with EDA Consultants, Inc., providing for engineering services, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion as City Council Resolution 2023-145?
Mr. Mayor, motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-145.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Item 8 is City Council Resolution 2023-146. Mr. Kennedy, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-146, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a continuing contract with Gamure GMUER Engineering LLC, providing for engineering services, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion on City Council Resolution 2023-146?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve resolution 2023-146.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Item 9 is City Council Resolution 2023-147. Can we do that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-147, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a continuing contract with GSE Engineering and Consulting, Inc., providing for engineering services, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion as City Council Resolution 2023-147?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve 2023-147.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Item 10, City Council Resolution 2023-148. Can we do that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-148, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a continuing contract with Pittman Engineering LLC, providing for engineering services, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion as City Council Resolution 2023-148?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-148.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Item 11, City Council Resolution 2023-149. Can we read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-149, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a continuing contract with Decoya Engineering LLC, providing for engineering services, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion as City Council Resolution 2023-149?
Mr. Mayor, motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-149.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next, City Council Resolution 2023-150. Mr. Cannon, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-150, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a continuing contract with Wetland Solutions, Inc., providing for engineering services, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-150?
Mr. Mayor, motion for approval, City Council Resolution 2023-150.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Ms. Ox, will you call it?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next is City Council Resolution 2023-151. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-151, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a contract with Florida Industrial and Construction Services LLC for the purchase and installation of a 24-foot in length by 30-foot in width by 12-foot in height prefabricated metal building pole barn at a cost not to exceed $32,719.46.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-151?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval, City Council Resolution 2023-151.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, so I have a comment. So the reason this came tonight is the price went up from what was budgeted. So it came before this council to approve it. That's gonna play into a conversation we're gonna have later about line items being changed without this council approving it. So I just wanna point out, this is the proper way to change a line item on the budget.
Any other discussion? Ms. Ox, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next is City Council Resolution 2023-152. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-152, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a letter to Florida Commerce by the mayor requesting an extension of Florida Small Cities Community Development Grant Program from the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-152?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-152.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, you got it.
I was gonna ask, so this is the Wilson, Park over here for building the amphitheater, is that correct?
That's
What I
correct.
was reading in there. So, with the extension, it looks like you've made some strides and we're on pace to actually get some things done there. I really appreciate that. Hopefully we'll get this extension. But my question is there any way that we don't do the extension and we do a different CDBG grant? Or do we have to finish this one first? Is there any way to say, hey, we don't want to do that anymore?
I think this will put us in danger of losing the other grants.
I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, because we've already lost one, as you know, from the Richardson, so I think the best thing to do is finish this grant out.
Anything else? Go ahead.
I think that this have came up before about trying to change the grant. And, it wasn't a good idea then, and I don't think it's a good idea now to try to change it.
And we're so close to having advertisement for construction, I just think we might as well finish it out at this point.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to point out consistency. I came and spoke before this council before I was elected to tell them that I was not in support of this grant. So I just want to be fair, that's not something new.
Mr. Jernigan?
No, it's that, they discussed it already, so I appreciate that.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes.
Okay, item 15, City Council Resolution 2023-153. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-153, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, related to the release of reverter to grantor as authorized by City Council Resolution number 2009-005 and contained in the deed dated February 20th, 2009 from the City of Lake City, Florida to Greater Lake City Community Development Corporation, Inc., providing for conflicts and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-153?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval, City Council Resolution 2023-153.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, so this is that Washington Street lot that we talked about at the previous meeting. Do we have an update on the other lot?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
16, City Council Resolution 2023-154. So, Mr. Cannon, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-154, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing and adopting an honorary street name designation policy and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion that the City Council Resolution 2023-154?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve that, resolution there, 2023-154.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
17, City Council Resolution 2023-156. Mr. Cannon, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-156, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the city to enter into change order number 1 to the contract between the city and CGC Inc. relating to the Taxiway C realignment and terminal apron rehabilitation project for a price not to exceed $2,508,750.45.
Is there a motion that the City Council Resolution 2023-156?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve resolution 2023-156.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yeah. Okay, we've done item 18, item 19 is scheduled workshops. My recommendation, I thought, was do them on the Mondays that we're not having these meetings. That's most of us are free on Monday night, but I'm entertaining anything. But I would like to have the quorum up first.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not available on the second Monday of each month,
Okay.
and we'd have to
So
get a
if we
fill
did the
in
fourth
from.
Monday,
Sir?
if we did the fourth Monday,
Yes, sir. Let's have a Lakeshore Hospital Authority meeting the second Monday of
Do
each month.
y'all wanna try to do 2 a month or 1 a month?
I would like to do as many as we can, but I do want to make sure that that morale fund
Yeah.
is the first one that we do, because to me, that's so important that we do that, and it's so touching to know that we have this in place and we need to talk about it. Let's go ahead and do that one first, and then go into the decorum. That's fine. Oh, we may could do 2 in one shot. You know, I don't see why we can't do 2 in one shot, but morale fund, I want that to be the first one that we do. Because again, we're talking about a young lady who's lost her life. So I want to do that one first, and I want to put that out there. So I don't know how everybody else feel about it, but I want that one first.
okay, in January, our first meeting is the 2nd because of the holiday. And our next meeting would be the 15th, that's Martin Luther King Day, that would be on the 16th. But we still have the 22nd and the 29th. We could do the Mariah on the 22nd and the Quorum on the 29th.
Either night's good. My schedule's flexible.
Yeah.
I said my schedule's flexible, so it don't matter.
Anybody got a problem with those 2?
If we did the Mariah on the 22nd, the Quorum on the 29th, I've spoken, and Mr. Jernigan has, anybody got any recommendations on the others?
Mr. Mayor, so I would think that the affordable housing and the application for the grant funding could be combined into one. If Mr. Johnson thinks that would work, I think that's 2 really non-controversial things that have to be spoken to. But as far as that Citizens Review Board, sign me up for no meeting. I'm not interested in a workshop on that,
Matt?
not with the change in the law.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, you mind if I comment?
That's right.
Also, I think we should just remove, I'd like to make a motion to remove Citizen Review Board. I don't think it's necessary. I think the police department here is doing a fantastic job with the staff. So I think we should remove that. And furthermore, it's gonna violate the law anyway. It won't be citizen review board nowhere in the country. So let's make sure that a lot of us are aware of that. And the chief can probably come up here and tell you a little bit more about it. Because they're gonna do away with that citizen review board all over.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I don't know, well, it's already been voted on, you know, we got to save face.
Did we vote
Wasn't that already voted on?
I don't think we've ever voted.
Mr. Mayor,
It's just,
I know they signed up for, I ain't put that gonna be a controversy kind of thing.
yeah, go ahead.
We've been talking about this citizen, I don't know what the law says now. There's a law that says there would not be in a citizen review board, and that need to be made public for everybody to understand that. But I wanna be sure that's what the law says. And we could be talking about some other kind of review board. You know, there's nothing wrong with the citizen having some input in the action of the police department. And that's what the citizen was kind of promised. You know, at least we have a discussion. But to say that we don't need to talk about it because of the law, now what did the law say? What did the law say? The law said we can't do it?
Well, there is some law out there now, and I can't quote it, but I did see that there is a bill in Tallahassee for this term that will outlaw them, period, across the board.
Yeah, well, let them be outlawed first because, you know, citizen, we had 2 or 3 workshops now as a citizen. And you may not even agree with the review board, but at least it seems to me that given the kind of input you got over the past year or so on this, that you at least want to hear what the people got to say. If you still want to vote against the review board, that's your business. But don't have us thinking that you're going to review it. Then at the minute, well, the law said they're going to find y'all. That's an opinion. Everybody don't have that view. Everybody's not satisfied with how they get stopped. Everybody's not satisfied how the police treat them. I am, but everybody's not. So everybody around here is not happy to go looking with law enforcement. That's just not the case. If that was the case, we'd have some help from the community. So, you know, you need to have a conversation, whether you vote on it or not, that's your vote. I don't have a vote. But don't shut the conversation down. Have the conversation in a workshop. Then you say, okay, we heard y'all, but the law said we're not gonna do it, that's it. But just to not do it after we done had, I went to a meeting at the Richardson Middle School, at the Richardson Recreation Center, that talked up here about 3 or 4 times. Man, it's just not fair to those of us who's advocating just to say, we're not gonna talk about it at all. Talk about it and make your decision. I mean, I don't have a vote, none of us got a vote, y'all got the votes. But don't deny us an opportunity at least to tell you what we think.
Mr. Mayor.
I had a question for a clarification. I don't remember voting to have some of these, so I was unsure. There was a comment that we already voted to have this, and I don't remember that.
I don't know that we voted.
I think, you know, things have changed between now and when we first were discussing this.
Might wanna recommend tabling that, to let us do some research into it and bring it back at another meeting.
That's fair.
And then that way we know if we have to deal with that, then we know how to deal with it appropriately.
I think that's fair
Are you
for
making
me.
that motion to
I
table?
didn't make the motion.
I'll make that motion.
Well, we already have a motion and a second on the table, are we?
So we're gonna table that motion.
Table that motion, and I'll make a motion that we table it for now.
And Mr. Sampson, second. Ms. Actually, call the
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
So when you say table it for now, what do you mean?
roll. For him to do research.
Research, okay, yes.
Mayor Witt?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hill, I missed you, Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Okay, Mayor Witt.
Yes.
Okay, in February, our first meeting is the 5th, and then the 19th is President's Day, which
It's a holiday for the city, isn't it?
Which one?
President's
It is,
Day.
yes.
so our meeting would be the 20th. The second meeting in February would be the 12th, which is when Mr. Kennon would be out. So we could do the 26th if that's good with everybody. And that would be affordable housing and grant funding vote, is that kind of what we talked about?
Yep, I think so.
What time are we doing the workshops?
I usually get about 5.
Everybody make it here by five?
What do we, well,
5:30 is the
yeah,
latest.
6, I think sticking to 6, what we normally do.
Okay, 6 is good, yeah, yeah,
That way people can make it from work up and.
yeah, okay. Okay,
Item 20 is just informational purposes. Item 20 or 20A or whatever it is Mr. Sampson's, item on the raise.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there's several things that have come to my attention recently about some changes in the budget, that we were not made aware of. So as I do every year, I ask for the update of what salaries are actually now, and then I compare it to the budget book we were given, because each of us were given a budget book with a list of what the salaries would be after the 3% raises. And it was rather eye-opening when there was multiple employees with anywhere from 9 to 20+% raises. I asked for the supporting documentation, and in some cases there's 0. And I'm not, now, I want to be clear, there's 3 raises here on this list that to me is not as big a deal. And those are the ones that D. Johnson did. I don't think this in any way casts aspersions on D. Johnson. He was not involved in this. This had to happen, or this did happen with our outgoing city manager who knew he was leaving and then gave raises on the way out the door that we were not made aware of. And I'm really concerned about it. When you're talking about employees getting 15, getting 12, 13%, 16%, and then the only qualification on some of these, the few that do have documentation says, well, it's for that salary study that we did years ago. Well, that's fine. Well, why did only these people get them? I threw one on here just out of the blue. I could have picked Brian because he didn't get one. I could have picked other people who didn't get one and said, hey, why didn't they get one when they don't match the salary adjustments? But I just threw out Katrina because she didn't match the salary adjustments, and I just wanted to put her here next to this other employee who similarly runs a department, and yet he got an $8,500 raise and she didn't. So I don't know where the fairness is, I don't know where the transparency is, but when you have a line item in the budget that's changed, I'm really concerned. When you have employees here less than a year and they're getting $20,000+ raises, I'm concerned. Not only am I concerned, but I think when Mr. Dial exited this place, he had no right to give these raises out. Every time in the past, there's substantial raises that came before this board. And in addition to that, Mr. Jefferson, I happened to talk to him today. He had called me, and I don't know where he heard about it, but he had heard about this thing. So I was talking to him about it, and I said, you know, there's 2 things. One, sometimes since he's not sure whether it was right when Mr. Kirkland left or you came, but this council or the council set a limit on the raise percentage that could be given, and I've asked for clarification on that. If we could find that documentation, he could not remember whether it was a resolution or an ordinance, and I don't know if Mr. Hill was on the council at the time, but there was a limit put in place because something like this happened before. I don't begrudge anyone a raise, but I got a real problem with someone who's possibly taking a position somewhere else and on the way out the door giving sweetheart raises to certain people. And I don't know, these people, I'm not saying any of them are at fault. I'm just saying the raise percentage looks bad. And, you know, last year I looked at it, the year before I looked at it. I'm just looking at what we approved, what was in our budget book, and what it actually is. And it's mystifying. And I'm asking that this council hires an independent investigator to investigate it, because I'm not sure how far this goes. And playing into this, I'm deeply disturbed that Mr. Dials get paid a severance when he clearly resigned under Section 9 of his contract. Section 9 does not get severance. Section 8 explains severance, and he had to leave under a Section 7 item. So if you read Mr. Dials' contract, he doesn't get severance. Why are we paying him severance? That needs to stop immediately. Not only does it need to stop, we need to claw back anything he's been paid. In addition to that, I went back to what we actually approved in the contract, and it did not get written how we approved it, but we had a limitation on the payout that he was going to get at the end, and it didn't make the contract. That's a failure by our people who did the contract after we redlined it, if you go back to that. But there is no way, all of this is tied together into one, and I'm asking that this council, I'm making a motion that we hire an outside investigator, preferably a law firm, to research these raises and the severance pay that we're paying in opposition to a contract. We're saying that we're paying Mr. now, and I got this from Mr. Johnson and our attorney, Mr. Kim, that we're paying Mr. Dial severance based on that addendum at the back.
But several of us were here when we fired Mr. Helfenberger. And before that severance went on that addendum, the council approved it. If y'all remember when we terminated Mr. Helfenberger, because he was fired under an item 7 thing, this council didn't approve that severance. To me, shouldn't be happening. And so I'm making that motion that we would hire an independent investigator to come in and look into these items and see if there's any malfeasance that's taken place.
There a second?
I second it, but I'm on that second. I think I was on council, I think Wendell Johnson was the city manager at the time when we set a limit on the raises given out. So if these raises was given out, it wasn't right without the permission of the council.
And let me make a comment on that. So this is why I asked for backup material before I brought this forward. So I said, well, surely there's a recommended recognition of some kind of above and beyond. Well, some of them talk to the nebulous pay study, which we never did match that pay study. Now, and when you look at it, and I noticed they added some things here and notes on different things. I don't know why they were added because I was looking strictly at the budget to what is actual. If you had a raise and it was in the budget, well, that's budgeted. That's explainable. This council looked at it and approved it. If you went after the fact and went around that, shame, shame. Mr. Dial's on the hook for that. And hopefully there's no documentation about employees asking for these raises. And when you look at the supporting documentation, and I did see the latest thing I got, which I will say I paid for my right to get these documents. So I put my $40+ in, which I think is absolutely ludicrous when part of the charter says that I am one of the people who does investigations. I should not have to pay, but I did pay. And so when I paid to get these records, some of them don't exist. There's some raises given, we don't know why. Not only do not know why, I got an email or documentation saying, man, we just give a raise. And that's the way I read it. And so, and then because of a pay study, well, that's fine. Well, if you gave a pay study to one, there's a bunch of names on this list that's not getting paid what this pay study said. And we as a group determined that we weren't just gonna go and raise everybody because the city cannot afford it. So I think it's crucial that we do this investigation. So we have a clear independent study. There's a failure on the attorney's part for allowing that severance pay. Mr. Ken and I discussed it. He knows I'm not very happy about it. I think I made that very clear in our conversation that I disagree and that it's not correct. I talked to the previous HR director who had a lot of experience before he got ran out of here. And he said absolutely no way should there have been a severance. He's like, the contract's very clear, which I read, not being a lawyer, it's very clear. In HR, you don't get a severance when you resign. That's never been the case. And so we need to get this investigation started so that we can get it done. And I'm just asking for the council to do that because it is within the charter that we can investigate these things.
And you made a second.
Well, I'm on a discussion.
Yes.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying what you're saying is not true. But I want to see something myself before I say hiring an attorney to investigate it. I haven't seen anything. This is my first time hearing it. So I don't, council need to look at it for themselves first. I need to see something. I hear what you're saying, Mr. Sampson.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I ask that every council member be given, again, the copy from the, I believe it was August 5th or 13th budget and then the actual what we're getting paid now. If you would just, if anyone wants to look up what I've requested publicly, it's there. I think that should be shared with every council member. And again, there's 3 raises. I mean, the ones, D. Johnson, I want to be very clear. D, I'm not saying anything you've done is incorrect on this. I mean, I thought the way you laid out the raises for specifically Josh, I'll just single him out. I know that's not good to single out, but Josh was told a year plus ago when he became chief that there would be a review at some point. Now, I didn't see a review attached to the raise, but I do think that was the right thing to do. I saw Miss Carr, she got promoted. That's different. There's a specific thing. But to create something and say someone got more responsibility, so we're going to pay them more than the salary recommended adjustments, but then on the other people say, well, we're going to make them have that, it's just too much indecision and indecisiveness. So I don't know what items we could present, maybe the items that show why we did the raises? Would you like to see all of that before you make the decision?
Yes, and I'm just sitting here, things start beginning to come back. Where did all this derive from? Because there was a blow up here a little while ago. I just happened to walk in this city hall and just hear there was a blow up and people mad about raises. Where did all this derive from?
Mr. Mayor, may I address that?
Sure.
So every year I ask for this information, and then I normally discuss it with the city manager. This year I sent, after I got the information, I asked Dee Johnson about it to send over the documentation for the raises. I did not have a meeting with him in advance, but where it derived from is, I think it's our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the line items on the budget are being spent how we approve them. I always do that. Before I met with Donna multiple times, and I'm sure she probably sent it in as a public records request when I would come in to get the items. I think it's crucial that us, in our job, we're the line of defense for the citizens to say, you know, is the money getting spent how we approved it? And as far as the severance, that came from a citizen standing up at this podium and saying that Mr. Dial was getting a severance unbeknownst to me or probably anyone up here. So then I asked for the final pay out of Mr. Dial, and it shows where he's getting paid a severance in contrary to the contract. And so to me, that's not anything new or exciting. That's just where we have to do our fiduciary responsibility. And I don't know who else you can get to do that investigation. I don't know that any one of us is qualified to do it.
You done? Shouldn't this be handled administratively instead of us talking about it up here? I think we have capable people here to look into this instead of the council. I think Mr. Johnson and his administration as interim city manager, I don't think that this should be discussed openly like this. I think it should be handled administratively. I could be wrong. Am I right?
No, it needs to be handled in the public.
Yeah, it needs to be public. It needs to be here. This is where we handle this.
We're not calling names or, you know.
Yeah, I heard several names called.
It's public record. Everything here is public record.
Yes. Mr. Johnson, could you just comment on this, please, if we could, Mayor?
Yes, the councilman has had issues, I guess, or concerns about raises that were given out before October 19th. In my opinion, this came up through an employee, which Mr. Sampson has said he spoke to about raises. And I think at this point, they're turning this around to attack the employees.
Right.
That's my opinion on this, and I'm not gonna sit here and let my employees get attacked. Every raise that Mr. Dow did give out was earned. He didn't just give it to them just to give it to them. If you haven't noticed the production around this city, you had your eyes closed.
Mr.
We're
Mayor.
getting this done.
Mr. Mayor, if that's the case, then why were other people who are producing not given the raise?
Well, I would think that's a question for Mr. Dow, who is not, I don't see Mr. Dow out there. That is a question for Mr. Dow.
So wait a minute, no. He's responding to me though.
No, but he was responding to me.
Okay, but I was mentioned, so you go ahead and then
Go ahead.
I'll redirect that.
Go ahead, finish.
So, like I said, I think this is where all this came from, but to sit here and put these employees out here and try to, I guess, shame them, I don't think that's professional.
Well, my question was, should it be handled administratively?
In my opinion, when an employee came to Mr. Sampson, he should have came to me about it. That employee should have came to me about it.
Administratively, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's my answer.
Well,
That's
first
the answer
of
to my
all,
question.
an employee didn't come to me.
You just said.
After, I told you after the fact someone did, because I asked them why they didn't get a raise. So I asked someone, why did you not get a raise when everybody else did? So maybe I made a mistake there. But here's my question. I'm just looking comparatively, and I say you got one person making the same as another, one gets a big raise and one doesn't.
Mr. Sampson, who's over the administration? Is it me or you?
Well, I would think no one, it looks like, because at this time you weren't.
Well, I'm
Mr.
telling you
Dial
this,
was.
since I've been there, like you said,
And
every
so-
raise I signed was justified.
And I agreed with that.
I'm done with it.
So I agree with that, but I don't agree with the other ones, and I'm not going to. And we need an investigation to see what was done with the raises Mr. Dial did from the time he knew he was leaving until he left. And to me, that's transparency to the public. Now, again, I know the city sometimes doesn't like to be transparent because it's a little easier if you can give big raises. You know, if you can get $20,000 a year raises, then that's nice. But when you have people who's been in a job 6 months getting a $16,000 raise on top, there's no way you can justify that. There's no way.
We're talking about percentages. If you go back before October 1st, was it any raises given out with more than 20%? I gave you that documentation, didn't I?
I have the
I gave you the
documentation.
documentation.
What
that was more than
documentation?
20% given out.
What
before October.
documentation?
That was sent through the public records today.
I
That you
didn't
just
get
got
that. Who did you get that? I only asked. I asked for a very specific record. Wait a minute. I asked for a very specific record. I took the 8.5, which we all got, and asked for the 12, or the up to date. That's it.
Right, but you said it was a certain percentage that Mr. Dow could not give out the raises. Why didn't you look at all the raises he given out to make sure they did not go over?
That's an excellent idea. I would
I
like to
think you
request
should.
all raises given out by Mr. Dial
Sounds
that are
good.
that are not in the budget. Because there may be some I missed, and I think I asked that in my public records request. If we go back and read it in case I missed some.
What is your hopes? That the
What is my
raises be
hopes
pulled
is
back?
that, I'm not sure, maybe. If there was malfeasance or misfeasance, that may be the case. Let me ask you this, you work side by side with someone and you do a comparable job and there's no documentation that you're doing your job above and beyond, other than a report that we got years ago about salary. Now, it says on here that your salary should go up to, let's say, $45 an hour, or whatever it is, $73 an hour. And it says, Mr. Johnson, on that same report, says his should go to 73, but you get it and he doesn't. Why is that?
Because of the city manager is city manager?
No, that's not correct. Mr. Dial, I agreed with what Mr. Johnson said, but what Mr. Dial did is not correct.
I'd like to see what Mr. Johnson said with all the raises, and because I kind of agree with Ms. Young that this is first glance at it, and I'm not sure I'm ready to just vote on an investigation without just kind of seeing what's going on and kind of looking at it ourselves and getting the documents that are out there
How far back do you wanna go when you say you wanna see
this year.
all raises not in the budget, but, okay.
Let's do July, Mayor, if you don't mind.
That'd be fine.
That's all signed off by Mr. Dial, that's fine. I think if you go back, I gotta look for my actual, when I requested it. But I believe I asked for anything he had that was not shown on here.
Do you still want to go forward with the motion for tonight?
Yes, let's put people on the record for transparency or not.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I know the emergency, and Mr. Warren asked the question when he was here, and we didn't get an answer. As a member of the public, if it's gonna be an emergency item, then I think it should be articulated what the item is going to be. So that me, as a citizen, I'm just talking about Glendale Valley now, if I want to speak to it, I would have gave you something to speak to. So y'all had this 15-20-minute conversation about Mr. Dye, who's not here, about the raise and all of that. But those of us in the public, we didn't have the privilege of knowing that was going to come up. So I would say this, as a former city councilman, that if a raise is given out, it should be, whoever gives the raise ought to be in a position to explain to the public why they got it. You know, I disagree with Councilman Jernigan about administrators. You know, the money that these employees got, I don't want to know the name, don't need to know the name. Whether they earn it or not, that's immaterial to me. But if you're a public employee, you're getting public money, that's not a private discussion.
That's right.
That could be a private discussion between the city manager and the city manager and that employee. But when I come to this podium, I want to ask you, did John Doe get a 20% raise? Then I got a right to know that. I can send Ms. Sachs a thing tomorrow. I want everything you sent to Mr. Dow and to Mr. Sampson, get it all. So let's be open and above board. If the chips fall, I agree. The employee got the raise, shouldn't be penalized, in my view. You know, because they got something, you take something from somebody and that's gonna hurt them big time. But it should be some understanding in terms of how much you're gonna be able to give somebody. We went through the budget process. I came to every one of those meetings. You did employee 3% across the board. But going forward, if anybody ends up getting another 10% raise, then at least the city council should be notified that it's taking place. You know, otherwise, the appearance is such. Now, I don't know, Mr. Dow, who the employees are, but the appearance is such that this person got it, but this one didn't. And the one who didn't get it, mouth stuck out, and the one who got it, it smiled all the way to the bank. So it got to be some kind of balance here, but I take strong exception to not having transparency. If you can't justify the raise, then you don't get it. If you can't explain it from up here, then you don't get it. And that just fair to the public.
Mr. Mayor. I'd like to clarify something, Mr. Bowden. Mr. Bowden, so would you like, or were you stating that you would like to get that as a public record? It sounded like he said he wanted the same things that I'd requested. I think you should have that.
Oh, believe me, I know how to get it.
Yeah, because I think it's crucial to do exactly what you said, especially, now, Mr. Bowden, one of the things that you mentioned here, this isn't lower salaried employees getting these raises. These are the people that work side by side with Mr. Dial. They got, in my opinion, from looking at it, why did some of the people in this room who were supposedly doing a good job, sometimes wearing multiple hats, why didn't they get a raise? So now that's where administration's got to document to us why they do the raise. And I agree with what Mr. Johnson said. It's up to administration to document it. And I think if you look at the raises Mr. Johnson gave, there's documentation. Is that correct, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, it is.
And so when you look at the other ones and you get an email that states there's no documentation, I would think that would be an administration concern. So for me, I don't understand still how we wouldn't go ahead and move forward with trying to see if there's been malfeasance. And as to the second part, the part about the severance, we definitely have to have outside counsel on that. There's no way, because how can you pay a man severance who quit when his contract clearly says under item 9, 8 tells you severance, it's anything in 7, he resigned under item 9, there's no severance, and yet he's getting paid severance, which we found out through an activist standing at the podium telling us he was getting paid severance. So to go back to where that came from, after the meeting where that happened, and I'm like, well, surely he's not getting severance. That's when I asked for the final payout to find, yep, he's getting severance that this council didn't approve. And I've never seen, there's been a lot of managers fired, and one of them got severance without this council approving it. Is that correct, from the people who've been on it? Mr. Jefferson's out there. Have you ever seen that, Mr. Jefferson? Paying severance without the council approving it?
No.
Exactly. And so to me, that needs to stop immediately. So if we want to finish the first motion, then I got another motion after that.
Okay. On this motion, my comment is, I'm not saying I'm opposed to an investigation, I'm just opposed to doing it tonight without going further.
Mr. Mayor, I would be okay with that particular place and pulling my motion if we could discuss that at the meeting on the 28th after they do that other board meeting. When would that be acceptable to everyone here so they can see the documentation?
I would feel better about it.
I will put it off. I will pull my motion until that meeting on the 28th or meeting? I'd like that added as an agenda item on the 28th. And that way too, it's transparency to the public, as Mr. Bowden mentioned, so he can review the documents, or anyone else who wants to review the documents.
Okay.
Perhaps a newspaper would like to review the documents. I think it might be something they would be interested in, and anybody else out there would like to review documents, because this is an open and transparent government. So let me make my next motion. My next motion is to stop immediately with any severance package that's being paid to Mr. Dial. I understand, Mr. Mayor, that you signed that. You knew this board didn't approve it, so you might have a conflict on this. I'm not sure if you can vote on it. But in no way, shape, or form did that severance come before this board to get approved. And I'm making a motion that we stop it immediately and we get back whatever's been paid out. And especially when I looked at that pay record and he's accruing PTO and sick time to get a master payoff at the end. There is no way that you accrue PTO after you quit a job. I have never heard of that ever in my life. And for some of the people that said that and the professionals that back that up, they're wrong. They're wrong. I work for companies that are Fortune 50. I work for companies as mom and pop. I've seen severance. I've seen people get terminated. I've sat right here when we fired someone in this board. Some of the 3 of us were here when we agreed to pay severance. Mr. Jefferson was on that board. I'm making my motion that we stop the severance pay immediately and that we review anything to do with Paul Dial's contract. I do believe we need a different attorney to look at that because this one's failed us.
I second
And discussion.
Yes.
Here again, it needs to be put on the agenda with the necessary documentation. Here again, I haven't read the severance, and I said that when I was told that he was getting all this severance. I said, man, who quit?
Yeah.
Walk off the job and he get paid for walking off the job? And I was told that it was in his severance package. And I took somebody's word. So I've learned. I wanna see everything. I wanna see it. So I can't, I say we don't even.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment on that as well? So would you be more comfortable if you had a copy of the contract to review beforehand?
Absolutely.
And would you like to see the final payout so you can see it's accruing the PTO and all that good stuff?
I wanna see all of it.
Would you be willing to put that on the agenda for the meeting on the 28th as well? I would remove my motion until council has opportunity, and that way too the public and they can address it.
Okay. All right, so that the end of that issue right now?
That's it for now.
Okay. Item 21 is manager's hiring process, Ms. Bible.
Good evening. I didn't know exactly what you all wanted me to bring to you, so from watching the meetings and gathering what you wanted, I have been advertising since the very next day. I just today, Florida League of Cities got back with me. They are working on posting that. They've been very hard to get a hold of, but it has been advertised on employflorida.com. It has been advertised on, I paid to advertise it on Government Jobs, which is nationwide. As of today, we've had 2 complete applications submitted and 1 resume. I have that information here if you would like me to give that to you. I've put a rubric out that has each applicant's name, their degree level, condensed experience, and whether or not they completed the application and the date that they submitted their information. And I have that here for you if you would like that. And I'm open to any questions that you might have as the process so far.
Question?
You can.
You go ahead.
Well, one question. So, I mean, you said you got 2 applications?
2 complete applications
And one
with
resume.
resumes and 1 resume.
Okay. Is it from the city of Lake City or Columbia County, or is it
I can
nationwide?
look at that real quick. I have 2 of them. 2 of them are Lake City. One of them, it doesn't say on the resume isn't.
Okay.
Well, yes, it does, excuse me. Okay, so all 3 of them have a Lake City address.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, it'd be my idea, we had a certain period of time, I would think at just at the end of the time, we should get everything. I think that would make the most sense. Yeah. For me, that's just my opinion.
But it was 60 days.
60, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, it will run through
Email
February.
it kind of,
That was more than yesterday ago.
60 days would run through mid-February.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions or? Okay. If you just kind of keep us updated, then
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
Mr. Dowden wanted to speak to this.
I'm about to let it go now because I was just curious, but she said she just got back from the League of Cities. It's important. I'm not trying to suggest that we hire somebody, but I am a stickler for the city manager form of government. And I think I've said that before, that the worst thing can happen to this community, and go back to a strong man form of government. I lived through that. I know what it was like when Mr. Tyson, as much as he did when he ran the city, I know that was really this favor, that favor, that favor, that kind of favor. So I think it's important that you do the search, and that it shakes out, but give it some time. You've only been advertised now for 2 weeks. The League of Cities hasn't even advertised yet. You know, it's a possibility you may not get no more than 5 or 6. 18 months from now, Mr. Johnson may still be the interim and working on his degree, and he can fall right into the position. But in the meantime, I think that the search should be an open, an honest, and aggressive search to see if there's somebody who want to come to the city. If there's nobody want to come, then Mr. Johnson's here to do the work. The work will get done. I know the city manager plays a major role, but I'm gonna tell you this. But for those employees under the city manager, but for the director of the gas department, the public works, and all those people, the time we've been going through now, if we didn't have those kind of employees down the line, this city would collapse. It'll collapse on the Heffenberger, it'll collapse on the McWilliams, it'll collapse on the Amy Fields, but for those people below the Mr. Johnson. This city wouldn't work. It's those guys you call in the middle of the night to go out there and fix them potholes. It's the police officer who's gonna go to the shooters, the fire department person who runs into the door. Those guys and women are doing their work regardless of who the interim city manager is. So no disrespect to Mr. Johnson, but you need to know that it's those other employees that you see riding around them blue trucks. If those employees decide they didn't want to do their job, then this city would collapse and you have to go down and appoint a new city council. So let's not forget about those employees that Mr. Johnson so forcefully defended. And Mr. Dow used to do the same thing. But that's why the city still stands today. Here we are, we're 2 years after we fired Heffenberger, and now we're right back where we started then. And the city still functioning. Yes, because we got Mr. Johnson as interim city manager, but most importantly, you got employees. God forbid, if Mr. Johnson fell dead right now, guess what? The city was still run. Why was still run? Because those guys are moving back there. And that's the bottom line.
Okay, item 22, approval of job description for police water treatment plant, wastewater treatment, spray field distribution, collection of natural gas. No motion.
I make a motion that we approve the job description
Second.
as amended.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
No.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay. I think that wraps it up. Motion. Any comments?
So I got some comments, council. I don't know if you all are aware, when we took that ethics training a few weeks ago, first of all, the people that hosted was our city attorney. So we gonna get a bill from attending the class and a bill from going to this ethics training. Second, I've never went to a training class that served alcohol. Now, we, as council people, we had to drive from Lake City under the influence if we drank. But myself, I don't think I know Mr. Jernigan didn't drink, Ms. Young didn't drink, Mr. Sampson. That's a conflict to me of interest. They're gonna host us, they're gonna bill us for that, and then they're gonna make the statement if we leave, we don't get a certificate. I stayed there, we stayed the whole 4 hours, I still ain't got a certificate. Again, I'm like Mr. Sampson. I'm not pleased with this city attorney that we have. That's all I have.
And I'm glad he mentioned that because in the future, we really need to be mindful when we go into a training, it's all about the mindset. I stepped my one foot, that was my right foot, I stepped in the door. Before my left foot hit the floor, I was offered a drink. I actually thought it was Coca-Cola.
Me as well.
Until I'm looking at a whole bar and I'm like, wait, what? Unbelievable to me. When we're going to these trainings, it's very important. We're going to learn our jobs, very important. And I appreciate you bringing that up because it weighed on me for a few days. I just couldn't help me. Anyway, I have another comment to make, and I'm gonna say this because if I don't, it's probably gonna haunt me. And it's about the comment about the black man. I am always elated to see an African American man or woman in high positions. And some of you won't understand. If you're not black, you're not gonna understand it. We have to work harder to get in these positions. We don't just slide in. Black men in here understand what I'm talking about. So I'm always elated, but it doesn't cause me to do anything underhanded. I like to see us in positions where we've worked to get to. And a lot of times, experience beat education. It's not always about the education. And this man has proven himself. And yeah, I'll go another mile if I thought I could beat it to get him the chance to work through this position while working on his education. That speaks volume. Number one, that he can do it. Everybody knows he's black. Everybody knows he's black. But that wasn't a part of my agenda. And for the record, I want you to know that. But I'm glad he's black. I'm glad he's black and sitting in this seat right here, interim city manager. And I would love to see him black as city manager. But that wasn't a part of my agenda, but I appreciate it being brought out. Now I see that he's black. Hard-working black man. And again, many don't understand it, but I understand it, and he understands it. And it's very offensive when that's said. If he was white, it would have never been said that he's a white man. Let us be mindful of this. It's not.
I'm sorry, go ahead. And Mayor, I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman.
I want to say something about the, go ahead and talk about that, because this is different.
Okay, well, in relation to the comment about me being black, I did take that offensive. I don't care what color you are, I don't see color. But to sit up here and I guess you think I got this job because I'm black, hard work, buddy. And I heard the black joke that you and Mr. Sampson said up here before this meeting about our past chief. The only reason she was qualified was because she was a woman and black. I don't do black jokes.
Wait a minute. I was not paying attention to that.
You were sitting right here talking. I don't do black jokes. I don't do black jokes.
No.
I don't do black jokes.
No.
I'm done with it.
No, we're gonna.
I'm done with the black jokes.
That's not correct. You made a joke. I didn't make any comment.
Okay, but you didn't stop.
And you didn't make any comment.
But you didn't stop. It wasn't my conversation, but I
I
heard
did.
it.
I said, I read it
I'm
right
done,
here.
Mr. Sampson.
I said, that's not a discussion.
Man, I'm done.
Hey, Mr. Sampson, what I was gonna talk about is that, I appreciate the job that you're doing, Mr. Johnson, D. Johnson. Also, what about the city attorney? If I call the city attorney and ask him a question and he don't know the answer, we get billed for that. The city gets billed for that. Just say that our city attorney, he don't know the answer, but he calls another person to get the answer to the question. We get billed for that attorney as well. And that kind of, I don't understand it. I need some help. I need clarification on why I would call my city attorney for advice. He doesn't know the answer. Then he calls another attorney and that person gives the answer and we have to pay for that. I know you're an attorney, so can you help me understand that?
Well, I don't know that we are getting double billed. I mean, we'd have to look at the bill, I guess.
Yes, I did. That's what I did. I looked at the bill to see that and I was like, that doesn't look right to me. It doesn't sound right. But again, maybe I didn't read it the right way. Maybe somebody else needs to look into it.
I think we're in the meeting, Mr. Jernigan, anytime you want to look at the bills, but we try to.
Yeah, but that's gonna.
Answer, and somebody else does, then there's no sense in me researching something, billing it, if somebody else has the answer.
Yes, so I don't want to meet with you because it's gonna cost the city. And then if you don't give me, or you don't understand where I'm coming from, you're gonna call somebody else and then we got to pay that person too. So we're basically billing, getting two bills and again, maybe, I don't know. That's why I'm asking questions,
Well, I mean, sometimes just me personally, a lady called me today and I said,
first of all, I gotta find out what your problem is, then I'll have to do some research, because it's something that I didn't know off the top of my head, and I don't always, sometimes you do know off the top of your head. And just the devil's advocate, if that person can give him an accurate record that he can spend 2 hours in the library, that's cheaper than that, but
Yes, well, we need to call those people for every situation. That way we don't be double billed, if we're being double billed. That's the way I was looking at the attorney bills and, and again, I think the attorney is doing the best he could with what he's got. So, there's a lot goes on in this city, so, I think he's doing the best he could, what he's got. Again, I hate to repeat that or be redundant. But if you look at the bill that I looked at, it seems to me as though an extra question, he doesn't know the answer, he calls another attorney, that we get a bill from that attorney and our attorney. It just depends on what the circumstance. Take a look at that too, Mr. Sampson.
I can tell you did not get billed for me attending the ethics training.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. I'm talking about what I'm talking about, not the ethics training.
Mayor,
yes.
may I address Mr. Hill real quick? I did check on you guys' ethics certificates and they are working on them, so we should be getting them soon.
Anything else, or is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
I did not say anything. You heard it. I heard it. What I say, I just went